Good morning. Oh, a little bit better than. Good morning. Good morning. Excellent. Kalimera sas. My fellow Greek over there. Good morning. Before we kick off today's forum, I'd like for everyone to join me in a moment of silence for the loss of really two heavyweights in Fairfax County. Our former board chair and our late great Congressman Jerry Connolly, as well as former Hunter Mill District Supervisor Kathy Hudgens. If all of you could please join me in a moment of silence in remembering their service and leadership to Fairfax County. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here bright and early in the morning. I know folks are still coming in. By all means, find a seat. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Theo Stamatis. I serve as one of 3 at-large seats, and I am your chair of the Fairfax County Small Business Commission. And I want to welcome you all to this year's 2025 Fairfax County Small Business Forum. And I will say, it's been 6 long years since we did this, and I'm happy to say we are back. We are back. So today we have created a forum for small businesses to interact directly with a wide range of community stakeholders in our county, from county procurement representatives, business partners, banks and credit unions, chambers of commerce, and so many more. We want today to be filled with networking and learning opportunities that will further help your small business grow, thrive right here in Fairfax County. Part of today's forum also includes multiple breakout rooms, our reverse trade show of vendors who will be happy to engage with each and every one of you about your small business and your needs. In a few minutes, we will hear from our keynote, Mr. David Guernsey with Guernsey Inc., as well as our panel portion of the session led by our colleague, Providence District Commissioner, Dr. Melvin Murphy. As I've stated previously, we have a great day planned for you all and much to cover in this plenary session. But with that being said, to kick off today's events, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our County Board Chair, Chairman Jeff McKay. Please join me in welcoming Chair McKay.
Well, thank you very much, Theo, and good morning, everyone. And I want to particularly thank Theo for taking a moment this morning to reflect upon the great lives of Chairman Connolly. I will always call Chairman Connolly, not Congressman Connolly, but Chairman Connolly and Supervisor Hudgens, who were giants in Fairfax County, but I think friends to many of us, and certainly to me, and having spent a lot of years with Jerry, having known him for over 30 years, I miss his calls, periodic calls to me with sage advice and witty commentary. And Supervisor Hudgens and I, of course, locked arms and wrote our One Fairfax policy, equity policy in Fairfax County that has been used as a model across the country, and making sure that in all things we do in Fairfax County, including promoting and growing small businesses, that we do that in every zip code in Fairfax County, and that we lift up as many folks as we can, because we know that our economy requires all of us to be doing well, not just some of us, but all of us. And so as we reflect on the two of them, I think it's important that we think not only about their legacy, but about our future in Fairfax County, as I know they both always did. And our future is bright, and I know we're facing some challenging times. Looking at the program today, I think it's obvious to all of us that what's happening in Washington, D.C. is troubling. It's chaotic, it's unorganized, and it creates uncertainty unnecessarily in our business community. And that's one of the reasons why our Board of Supervisors has been very outspoken about the recklessness of what's happening, and frankly, highlighting the potential impacts to our economy, because uncertainty in the business community, we all know, breeds challenges, and that is unfortunate, and as I said earlier, unnecessary. We have held many job fairs here in Fairfax County, including some recently, where we've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people coming forward looking for work. And in some cases, that is a great sign that people here are resilient and rebound. But in other cases, we know that there's some tremendous amount of insight and institutional knowledge that we're losing in this region. And so what's so important about today is that we focus our efforts on keeping our talented workforce here in Northern Virginia, and making sure that we pivot towards other industries or sectors that can help strengthen and bolster Fairfax County's economy. And our starting place is really good. You know, I talk about this every year when we go through our budget process. No matter if our budget process is an easy or a tough year, I think we lose sight sometimes of our starting place. And our starting place is so important because as we went through our last budget, we were looking at reductions in our budget that were for programs that are important for us to do in Fairfax County, but let's be honest, are programs that don't exist in most places, in communities that can't even dream of the assets and resources that we have. And our starting place in this economy is important because it is strong. And we will be resilient and get through this. And certainly the county, through our Department of Economic Initiatives, through our partnership with the Economic Development Authority, our universities and university systems across the DMV area, those partnerships are as strong as ever. And that's important because government does play a role in helping businesses be successful. Businesses are going to be successful despite government, but in some cases we can play a critical role, not just in setting the tenor and tone for our community, but through things like the Department of Economic Initiatives, putting in place programs to help small businesses start and to incubate and to grow in our economy, and we are always cognizant of that. But I want to share just a couple highlights of real positivity because, you know, it's tough when you read the newspaper. And before I came down here this morning, I was reading all the articles about consumer confidence in Virginia at an almost all-time low because of what's happening in Washington. And so how do we turn things like that into opportunities? I think we think about what we have here in Fairfax County. And we're always proud to mention to people that 90% of our businesses contain 50 or fewer employees. And that is strong because the heart and soul of our county's economy is based on our small business network and ecosystem. And certainly our big businesses and the things you read about in the paper when we attract them, the Fortune 500 companies that we have here, great headlines. But at the end of the day, it is our small business community that really grows our economy at the most rapid rate here in Fairfax County. We've built a collaborative community, whether it's with our Chamber of Commerce, I mentioned the EDA, our universities, our school system. We are constantly collaborating. We knock down barriers between government institutions and the private sector to make sure our folks can thrive. Everybody in the room knows that, you know, Virginia is #1 state for business, according to CNBC, and we know that that is largely because Fairfax County is the Commonwealth of Virginia's economic engine. Make no mistake about it. Virginia is a different state without the economy of Fairfax County weaved into all the metrics, and we can't say that enough times, and we should be very proud of that statistic. I always remind people back in 2023, right after we were coming out of the pandemic, which was a major challenge that our region faced, is that we were one of the few jurisdictions in the country as quickly as we did to not just recover our job loss and number of people working, but in 2023, there were more people working and more businesses operating in Fairfax County than ever before. And normally you would say year after year you would expect that statistic, but when you think about what we went through with COVID, that as quickly as 2023 we had more businesses and more people working than ever in Fairfax County's history, I think is a testament not only to the programs we put in place through COVID to help our small businesses survive with grants and other things, but also just the resiliency of our workforce here. Virginia ranks #1 for customized workforce training and cybersecurity, and #2 for our tech talent pipeline. Really important as we're thinking about moving forward, and that tech talent pipeline is strong. In part, it's because of our partnerships with not just our companies, but our partnerships with our universities. And what's shocking to me, it's always shocking to me, when we think about our colleges and university system in the DMV region, that there are more than 60 of them operating. Some communities would dream to have 1 or 2 colleges or universities. We have over 60 degree institutions in the DMV area. We also have in Northern Virginia a labor workforce of over 6 million people, and we know that's fluctuating on a daily basis, but in that 6 million people, 65% or more hold a bachelor's degree or higher level of education. 50%, over 50% identify as Asian, African American, or another race, and nearly 40% speak a language besides English at home. And so when we think about our diversity, some communities talk about diversity as something that they are striving to achieve. And here we have very rich diversity and something we should be really proud of. I tell my kids all the time this, you know, I have 2 kids in the Fairfax County public school system, and I tell them when they challenge us to travel to exotic locations and they want to go to all these places that we can't afford to take them, I say the good news is in Fairfax County, all you really have to do is talk to your classmates, because you can literally travel the globe in your classroom every single day if you just talk to your classmates and learn about their backgrounds and learn about their cultures and learn about their families, learn about their economic successes and challenges, is that you can literally travel the globe in Fairfax County by just spending a couple hours in one of our classrooms talking to your peers. And that's something that is a real blessing that we have. The last thing I want to mention is where I started, which is the uncertainty. And so when we think about Fairfax County, we know there are over 80,000 federal employees that live in Fairfax County. And that doesn't include all the contractors. And certainly many of you are affiliated potentially with some of these contractors, and it's absurd to think that there's not going to be an economic impact. The question is, how do we rebound and be resilient? And as I mentioned earlier, I think the single most important thing we can do is retain as much talent here as possible. We know that there are 40,000 open jobs out there. Sadly, that number was about 120,000 before this administration, and frankly, 80,000 jobs didn't get filled. 80,000 jobs disappeared from the list of vacant positions that are out there. But there are still 40,000 out there. And there are positions that are geared towards all types of work sectors. And when we had our job fair here recently, in talking to some of the applicants, some of these folks had not done a resume or applied for a job in decades, and frankly, never thought they would have to again in their lives. And just being here to provide them the support through programs, whether it's simple things like resume writing, interviews, even searching for jobs in this new world, prepare a resume for an AI tracking system that accepts certain resumes that have certain code words so you don't get eliminated before you even get considered. Some of those things that are now part of our economy were things we were talking to some of the future workers about, and I will tell you, some of them were really inspired. They were upset to have lost their jobs, especially our federal workers, but they were also inspired to think about, what does the next chapter of my life look like? Maybe it is time to pivot and do something new. And many of them had talked about the university systems that we have, and certainly with Northern Virginia Community College offering free assistance for certificates and training for people who had lost their jobs was something that many of them were very interested in pursuing. And I bring that up because even in these tough times, I think we have to focus on our resilience and ability to pivot and never forget what I said earlier about our starting place, because we start from such a strong position that we know we can weather any storm if we're creative enough, if we're energetic enough, and we're collaborative enough. And that's what we try to do here in county government with our partners in the private sector and the university system every single day. And so looking at the program, you've got a lot of great speakers, symposiums today, and things that help you network. And I want to thank the Small Business Commission for organizing this, because this used to be called a vendor fair. I remember when it was a vendor fair, and it was underwhelming because so much more happens here than what would typically happen at a vendor fair. And so I hope all of you have a great day today, make some connections, learn some things, and help us maintain our position as not only the economic engine of the DMV, but the economic engine of the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, which we are well known for and will continue to be. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, thank you for your steadfast support of our small business community today and every day. Next up, it is my honor to introduce to you all our keynote speaker for today's forum, Mr. David Guernsey. Mr. Guernsey currently serves as president and CEO of Guernsey Incorporated, a family-owned business since 1971 that operates primarily here in the Mid-Atlantic. The Guernsey organization provides its public and private sector customers with office furnishings, office supplies, break room products, janitorial and facility products, and related services. David previously served as director and vice chair of Virginia Commerce Bank, which was acquired by United Bank, which is one of our vendors today. He currently serves as a director of Comstock Companies, a locally headquartered public company. He has held numerous past leadership positions, including as chairman of the Arlington County Chamber of Commerce and chair of the Fairfax County Chamber, now NVC. Mr. Guernsey has also held several past industry-related roles, including chairman of the National Office Products Association, Business Products Group International, Independent Supplier Group, and many more. Following his passion for small business advocacy, David served from 2013 to 2015 as chairman of the board for the National Federation of Independent Business. And because of his wealth of experience in small business advocacy, Mr. Guernsey has received many accolades, including Virginia Small Business Person of the Year Award and Northern Virginia Leadership Award with Leadership Fairfax. Please welcome our keynote, Mr. David Guernsey.
Thank you, Leo. I really appreciate that introduction. I'm not sure how I can live up to it, but to put it mildly, I've been busy over my lengthy career. So let me add my good morning to everyone. Good morning. All right, we're still here. You know a little bit about me. Let me see if I can learn a little bit about you. Folks that are in business, you're actively operating a business today. If you would, just show of hands. Oh my, quite a lot. And how about folks that are thinking about starting a business, and you're here to learn something today? Again, show of hands. Okay, just a few, all right. And some of you didn't raise your hands. Maybe here for the coffee and the donuts, yeah? Well, in any case, when I was first asked to speak, this is actually quite a change for me. When I was first asked to speak, I thought to the commission, and I thought that's probably 15, 20 members, something like that. We'd have a fairly intimate conversation about my business and the effects of all of the things that Chairman McKay talked about on the business. But I was told that I should talk to Dr. Murphy. He would give me the specifics. And so when I got with Dr. Murphy, my first question was, well, what should I talk about? What would you like to hear? And he said, share your journey, talk about things you do again, maybe things that you would do differently, and somewhere in there throw in some pearls of wisdom. That'll be up to you, whether or not anything I have to say rises to that particular level. And then he went on to say, there'll be 200 to 300 participants, very different from the 15 or so I thought of. There'll be VIPs here. And oh, by the way, we're going to televise this. And you're the keynote. So I thought, okay, I'm a head-down business person, folks, like most of you in this room. That's what I do, and I've done it for a lot of years, and it's, as you know, a lot of hard work, and as I said, I characterize myself as heads down, certainly not as a speaker. And delivering a keynote, I have to admit, this is the first keynote that I've ever delivered. And I have to further admit that I didn't even know what a keynote was necessarily. So I consulted Dr. Google, like everybody. And Dr. Google said the keynote sets the tone for what comes after. Sets the tone for what comes after. So I'm going to set the tone right now. The best thing I ever did in my professional life was start a business. So it's a wonderful opportunity for me, for you, and all of you that are in business. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. Fairfax County is home. I went to Fairfax County schools. My brother, who works with me, and my sister, who is an analyst in our computer department, we all went to Fairfax County schools. Our kids went to Fairfax County schools. We live in Fairfax County. I live in Clifton. So we're about as, at least Fairfax and Northern Virginia centric as you possibly could be. The community, working with the community, working within the community, doing what we can to give back to the community. That's a very special part of owning a business, period. I think in any community, but certainly here in Northern Virginia. There are financial benefits, there's no question about that. I've been doing this for a long time, so it's certainly been financially beneficial to my family. But the totality of it has really been just an enormous benefit to me and to my family, and that's why I say it's the best thing that I ever did. And I just add one other thing, and that is I am really grateful, as I suspect most of you are, that we live in a country that facilitates the development of small business, the encouragement of entrepreneurs, assistance with startups, and just the celebration of small business in general. I've done quite a bit of traveling in my time, and my sense is there's few countries that facilitate the growth and the very presence of small business like the United States of America. So now I got to talk about these things that Dr. Murphy asked me to speak to. I'm going to give you 54 years in 15 minutes. And forgive me if it sounds a little bit like a pitch for the Guernsey organization. I really don't mean it to be that way, but it is the frame of reference from where I come. In 1971, I started a Royal typewriter dealership. Show of hands, how many people know what a typewriter is? There's a few of you that don't. It's a keyboard. That's effectively what it is. It's a keyboard with a lot more features than what the old typewriter had. But that typewriter was the centerpiece of the office world. If you didn't have a typewriter, you couldn't have an office. It was that important. And so I embarked on that. I mentioned to you my best decision. My worst decision professionally was the way I started the business. So I started the business with $234 and a stapler. That's all I had. $234 doesn't go very far. Back in those days, I really wasn't conversant on what a balance sheet was. I didn't realize the importance that it played in starting a business. I know now, but there were some really rough years there as I tried to develop that balance sheet so it could support a thriving business. Now, 12 years later or thereabouts, typewriters became obsolete. Computers entered the picture, and the typewriter very quickly was obsolete. And I'm getting to a point here that I think is a real key, and that is the pivot in the business. We pivoted at that time to word processing and document management product. And I don't know how long that lasted. I forget. Probably don't even want to remember. It didn't last long because enhanced computer capabilities ended the life of that equipment as well. So it was time for another pivot. And then we went into office supplies, just general office supplies. And I thought that was the product category for the ages. I mean, every workplace needed supplies. That would never end. And then came something called the cloud. And all of a sudden, paper product, the demand for that diminished pretty significantly. And with that went toner and ink and binders and staplers and paper clips and all of it. So that particular category has been in secular decline now for quite some period of time. And it's fairly stable at the moment, but there's no doubt that it will continue to decline. So in our company, we started thinking, okay, what's the next pivot? And this time we decided we wanted to get out of just pure product, but we wanted to move into categories that were adjacent to what we knew, which was the workplace. And when I think categories and what we knew and added value, I'm thinking of service, I'm thinking of expertise, training, equipment, general supplies to run those products. That's what we started to focus on, and that's what we've been working on for the last 15 years or so. We have a very robust break room program. We install break room product largely throughout our trading market in the Mid-Atlantic, but we also handle customers like Discovery Communications, Airbus, SAIC. We handle them throughout the United States. That's equipment. It has to be fit to an application. It has to be maintained, and there are supplies that go along with it. And I'm thinking espresso machines, barista-type stuff, just anything that you might imagine in a break room. We build them out to include the furniture side of it. We then moved into janitorial and facilities. Once again, that was a product line that required expertise, fitting the products to the application. And we brought that expertise to the benefit of our customers. We not only sold the machines, the things that hygienically take care of wherever it is that we work, but we sold the supplies, or sell the supplies for those units as well. We do the repair and maintenance on it, so it's kind of full service. And we needed to do that to differentiate ourselves from other product suppliers. As an example, we compete against Amazon, Staples, Office Depot, Walmart, all of those. They sell products. We sell what we believe to be a turnkey solution in all those areas. It remains to be seen as to how that's going to work out. After 54 years, I don't kid myself. Things change, people change, consumer preferences change, markets change, and we in business have got to change with that. My point here is that we evolved. And the nice thing about a small business, I sometimes think it's really a benefit to small business, is that we're typically very agile. The whole notion of being able to turn on a dime. And the consequence of that is that maybe some of our larger competitors don't have that level of agility, and maybe we can do it better, faster than what they can. Today, the Guernsey organization is billed as everything to every workplace. We're in public and private enterprises. We serve those companies. Healthcare, education, traditional offices, even retail, like auto dealerships. We do a lot in that area. And we do it with the product categories that I just mentioned to you, all a function of having pivoted over 54 years to something that at least continues to work. The Guernsey company, just as a feel for it, back pre-pandemic, we were 270 employees or so, $100 million in revenue. That's what we looked like then. Post-pandemic, we're clawing back. We're about 80% of where we were before. You know, all of the drama that's going on in Washington and all the other things that were a byproduct of the pandemic, some of those issues are still there, and we're working our way through them. But I mentioned agility and the ability to keep your top line, your revenue flowing by moving quickly as the market moves. I think there's also the headwinds that business people, small business people, large business people, it doesn't matter. You have to be very aware of the headwinds. This is a stat that, I don't know, I don't necessarily want to share it, but it's true. In my 54 years, folks, I've been through 27 downturns. 27. Some of them were short recessions. Some of them were rather long recessions. Some of them related to the financial world or maybe the real estate world. There was the Great Recession in '09. That was a peach. And then there's this thing called the pandemic. Who saw that coming? Right? I mean, I sat in March 18th, 2020. I'm sitting in front of my computer, and my dashboard says, your revenue has just been cut in half. That's a $100 million company just in half. And I got all the overhead, I've got all the people, and I'm in shock, quite frankly, trying to think, well, what do I do from here? And you all lived that. I mean, you know what that was like. It was, you know, it was going to end in 3 months, then it was going to end in a year, and then maybe another year, and then yet another year, and I guess 3.5 years later, it finally came to an end. A real struggle. And I would say, I mentioned the balance sheet and the importance that it plays. The balance sheet is so critically important in starting a business, and it's also critically important in maintaining a business, even downsizing a business during very, very difficult times. So the point that I make here is that there is a need to prepare for whatever might come in the way of a downturn. What we learn in Econ 101 is that it's an absolute that you're going to enter a downturn. You don't know when, and you don't know how long, and you don't know how deep, but I would tell you from my experience, a strong balance sheet will help carry you through the inevitable, because it truly is just that, the inevitable. So I think from the Guernsey organization, and I hope the same is true for you, although I don't suspect that there's too many people in this room that have been in business as long as I have. But in 54 years, we've read the market right. We've pivoted. I don't know in the most timely fashion, but we've pivoted in the right direction. Our differentiation strategies have worked. Who we are, we learned who our customers were, we learned the lane that we fit in, the ones that would be most attracted to us, and we discipline ourselves to stay in that lane. But as I look at it, it's you know, again, I'm always nervous every day. What's coming next? What it might be. Chairman McKay talked about, I mean, we are really on a roller coaster now. What's coming next? Maybe good, maybe bad. Market's up, market's down. Interesting times, to say the least. John Rohn, an author and motivational speaker, he passed in 2009. He had an interesting quote. He said, "Success is not made of grandstand plays, but rather of doing ordinary things extraordinarily well." And as I think back on that in my company, I would submit that things like agility, pivoting, persevering, differentiating, remaining close to the customer, I think those are just all ordinary things. And I think it's safe to say that if you do those ordinary things well, your business will prosper. It will thrive and prosper. Despite all of the economic headwinds, you would do it well. Now, the last thing, I had actually planned on ending with a joke, but my wife pleaded with me. She said, "David, you don't have good jokes. And you're really not funny, David. And oftentimes you forget the punchline." So I thought, well, that's true, actually. So I'm not going to end with a joke. I'm going to end with another quote. Actually heard this first from our senior senator from Virginia, Mark Warner, a longtime friend. He was the first I heard it from, but actually it dates back to Voltaire, the French writer and philosopher. It's really simple, but it informs my life, both in a professional and in a personal sense. And the quote is simple. It's just, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. My experience with business change, now think AI, it's accelerating at an accelerating rate. There's never enough time, I think, to find the perfect solution. Businesses that are behind the curve, think Blockbuster, likely don't survive, and in that one case, they were left behind. In my view, chasing perfection could well be the enemy of agility and overcoming headwinds. My take is find the good and move on. Thank you, folks. Great to be with you this morning.
One more applause for Mr. Guernsey, please. David, thank you for your tireless advocacy for our small business community. Truly, truly, you are, without question, a role model for many small businesses here, so I appreciate your service. Now I have the honor of kicking off today's panel portion of our event with our moderator, Dr. Melvin Murphy, Providence District Commissioner on the Small Business Commission. Dr. Murphy is a business research scientist, scholar, professor of business and marketing, 6-time published business author, and noted keynote speaker. He founded Murphy Education Group, a corporate education and consulting company that specializes in business seminars and in keynote speeches. He is the leading expert in the United States on organizational communication channel effectiveness. Also, he is our immediate past chair of the Fairfax County Small Business Commission. Please welcome our moderator, Dr. Melvin Murphy.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody stand up. Get a good stretch in there. Panel, get a good stretch in there and have a seat. Now take God. Any order, doesn't matter. Now this seat is mine. All right, great. Again, my name is Melvin Murphy, and I am the immediate past chair of the Small Business Commission. I don't know if our previous past chair before me is in the house, Marvin Powell. So I want to let you know a little bit about the commission. We need you. We need you to bring your problems to us if you're having permit problems or having problems with your business trying to navigate the county. This is what we exist for. And each of you, wherever you live in the county, has your commissioner, and I hope that you meet them today. The first panelist I'd like to introduce is Dr. Angela Wilson. Dr. Angela Wilson is a distinguished entrepreneur, leader, and advocate for innovation in business and technology. Dr. Wilson is the founder and former CEO of Secon Enterprises, a premier management and technology consulting firm she launched in 1996 under the leadership of Secon. Am I pronouncing that right? Secon, okay. Okay, all right. Secon provided transformative solutions that enhance workplace efficiency and employee well-being. Beyond her business success, Dr. Wilson has been a dedicated educator, teaching human resource managers both at undergraduate and graduate levels. She actively supports women in leadership through her involvement in organizations like Women Impacting Public Policy, Women's President Organization, and Women in Technology. Dr. Wilson earned her Master of Science and her doctorate from Virginia Tech while building her entrepreneurial career. Today, she and her husband have expanded their impact by co-founding real estate development company and focus on building housing in Southern Virginia. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Angela Wilson. It is my pleasure to introduce you I'm gonna mess this up. I'm sorry. Pallavi? Yeah. Pallavi Sabu. A visionary entrepreneur and business leader with an outstanding track record in scaling and transforming companies. As a founder and former CEO and chair of Homona Holdings Group, she led the company from a modest start with 10 employees under $2 million in revenue to a thriving enterprise of 400 employees and $90 million in annual revenue. Today, she continues to support Homona growth strategies as an advisor, focusing on mergers and acquisitions. Beyond her corporate leadership, Pallavi actively serves on several influential boards, including those of George Mason University, Fairfax Economic Development Authority, and TIE DC. Her accomplishments have earned her numerous accolades, recognizing her as one of the region's top female CEOs and a leader in federal contracting and technology innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pallavi. Rob Chavez, a visionary entrepreneur and leader in the real estate industry. As CEO of the Kaza Group and founder of Grid Investor, Rob has built a dynamic network of businesses focusing on empowering individuals and communities to create wealth through strategic real estate investments. His portfolio spans property management, title services, construction, private lending, and the largest agent-led investment network globally. Rob and his wife, Kim, began their real estate journey in 1999, turning a single townhouse investment into a thriving enterprise. Over the years, they have personally bought and sold nearly 50 properties while guiding hundreds of families in navigating the real estate market with smarter strategies. A true global citizen. Rob's background in foreign service family allowed him to live in a diverse location, including Argentina, Mexico, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Australia, and Jamaica before settling in the United States. Today, he continues to drive his innovation and transformation in real estate, helping others achieve financial independence. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Rob Chavez. And lastly, but not least, Yasa Basilios is a true embodiment of resilience and the American dream. As a proud owner of Deli Alatano in Great Falls, Virginia, Yasser's journey is nothing short of inspiring. After arriving in the U.S. in 1998 with a limited resource and no English, he began his career as a humble dishwasher at the very deli he now owns today. Through hard work, perseverance, and unwavering commitment to success, Yasser transformed his initial opportunity into a thriving business. Today, Deli Italiano boasts multiple locations across Northern Virginia with plans for continued growth. Having left behind a career in education and business in Egypt, Yasser has not only built a successful enterprise, but has become a pillar in his community. His story is a testament to determination, opportunity, and the power in believing in oneself. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Yasser Basilios. Okay, now that that's over, let's get started. Okay. We got some questions here. To any one of you, the first question is, each of you has built and scaled successful businesses. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in your early years, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, I can start. So I had a bachelor's in computer science, and my final degree was a master's in international marketing from Virginia Tech. And when I had my daughter, who for the first time was in a room here with me, when I had her after several years of trying, I didn't want a traveling job, but my final degree just meant business development. It was a marketing degree. I had to be on the road. And after 1 year of trying to find a job which didn't lead to anything, I was like, I want to start something on my own. There isn't any other choice if I have to be a somewhat respectable mother. So I started Harmonia Holdings Group. It wasn't easy. I was in a small town called Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is, a fellow Hokie sitting right next to me. Starting in a small town with zero experience in running a business and zero funding is not easy. What came to rescue was sitting in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. You just go into the world of grants automatically, and when you're in a university, that gives you some kind of legitimacy. So I started from the world of grants, specifically small business innovative research grants. And it was easy and it was tough because in SBIR, when you go in for the kickoff meeting, they'll ask you, what's your company size? And if you say it's 1, they don't want to give you the money because you might not be around to complete the project. So a whole lot of bluffing without lying was, was the biggest challenge I had when I was trying to build the business, because I wanted the money and I still wanted to assure the government that the money wouldn't go down belly up with me.
I think the biggest challenge was, saying yes to starting your business. I mean, that first yes. It gets a little comfortable and easy when you have a job. Mine happened to happen when I was laid off. The company I was working for was moving to New York, and all of a sudden, there was no reason to say no. And that was the launch of SACON. I did not have an income. I decided to bet on myself and take that first step. I think the biggest challenge was not just taking that first step and going and asking for a contract and having them employ you. The biggest challenge is, how do you hire your first employee? And that was, one of the bigger steps for me, was making that decision, deciding when that was important, who that resource was going to be, and then finding or listening to mentors and bringing on the right resource.
I think my biggest challenge was the dot-com boom and bust. Anybody experience that, go through that at all? I was 24. I'd started a recruiting business with my best friend. I thought it was normal to print money. Literally 99, 2000, we're just printing money, working out of a basement. And then it all stopped. And I remember we had just bought a single family home in McLean. We just had a baby girl. And I remember telling my wife, if we just make half as much as we made before, we'd be okay. We made like a quarter of what we made before. So a pivot had to happen, right? And the pivot was, we had to learn how to rent that house out to the Turkish embassy and go buy another property that was less expensive, and put my ego aside from my single family house to a townhouse, and pivot. And I love your keynote, because I think our business, as an entrepreneur, is all about the pivot, right? We then had the pivot in 2008 during the real estate crash, and guess what? At that point I was a real estate investor. So I remember being like, I just got done with a dot-com implosion in tech, and then I put myself into the fire again as a real estate entrepreneur, and that crashed. So my life has always been about the pivot, but through that pivot, there's been a lot of good that's happened. So I'm grateful for it.
Great. Okay, Melvin, you said it. No English, still, okay? So, my biggest challenge was when I got the opportunity after 3 years working at that Deli Italiano, was me trying to say, okay, I'll take this opportunity. And I just had a second son, and my wife does not work. She does not have a car. I do not have a car sometimes. But then I'm like, okay, yeah, I never ate pizza. I didn't even know there's something called pizza exists when I came here, honest to God. And I'm like, okay, but now I know how to make a really good pizza, a really good steak and cheese, A customer says, no onions. I put onions. Good luck, Mr. Customer. But, and taking orders was my biggest challenge. Maybe that's a small thing for a lot of people to worry about, but for me it was huge. Because imagine you're in China, everybody's speaking Chinese, and you don't know how to speak Chinese, It was very, very difficult. But then I was very insisting and consistent. Like, I have to do this. I have no choice. I have my family. I put all my money into this business that I saved. That's it. It's either you make it or you lose it. So I work 7 days a week, 6 o'clock. I go to Restaurant Depot. You all know Restaurant Depot. And buy my stuff, and then we sell. I take this money, go again to Restaurant Depot in the morning and buy, and then, until we start to work. And honestly, if I did not have my wife with me, because she is the one who was really supporting me, not complain. She just came from Egypt too, She doesn't know anybody. She does not know anything, but she was pushing me like, it's okay. Just do it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But you have to be very, very insisting to be successful, and you will be, trust me.
We need to, we're from the Show Me State, we want some of that pizza. Businesses require strong leadership. How do you evolve as a leader, and what leadership strategies have been most effective for you? Rob.
Wow, I feel like life is a never-ending journey of being a leader, becoming a leader, right? That just never ends. So I think early on, one of the challenges of being a leader was holding the standards, right? I was always tough on myself, but I don't know, maybe too nice to, along the way. And so I had to learn how to be fair and firm, right? Loving and results. And it took me some time to understand how to really do that. I love John Maxwell, for anybody who's ever read The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Just definitely a mentor through reading, and he's who I listen to. Also, Jim Rohn is another one, right, who I listen to. So I feel like leadership's a never-ending journey. I'm just beginning.
I mean, I would say that, it's having great people around you. You hear that a lot, but it's finding the right leaders that can come into your business and help you to be a better leader. And respect. It's respecting their talent, respecting their abilities, not overstepping your bounds. I always call myself, I grab the steering wheel. And because I feel like, okay, well, you're going in the wrong direction. I want you to, but it's about taking your hands off the steering wheel and allowing your leaders to do their job and lead the organization, and you're learning from them as well. So, I mean, I think that, I agree. Leadership is a journey. You learn how to deal with different kinds of people on a regular basis. You learn how to lead up and down in your organization, your customers. And so it really is following other people and being humble, which I think is the number one skill set in being a great leader.
Okay, so this is to you, Dr. Wilson, because you recently did this. You recently sold a business. What were some of the key considerations in that process, and how did you ensure a successful transition selling your business?
When I first thought about, I actually was on the journey to buy businesses. That was really where we were trying to go with it. We were looking for growth. As a small business, I think the hardest part in having a small business is trying to navigate if you want to grow to a larger business, especially in our field, which is government contracting. You get a lot of opportunities as a small business. If you can take advantage of them, it's great, you should. But then you've got to navigate how to get to a larger state in order to sustain your business. So we were looking at acquisition targets. So I've got a lot of lessons learned on that, and I can do a whole talk on it, to be perfectly honest with you. But it's fresh. We sold January. We sold probably when you sold.
3 months after us.
And so at the end of the day, I think the biggest lesson that we learned is be prepared. Go to the environments that are speaking about mergers and acquisitions, understand the pros and cons, meet with people that have already sold. Everything they tell you is true. You think it's not going to be you, but it is true. All that stuff, all of the lessons that they spoke about, and then have great legal counsel. And don't drag it out. I think that's the number one thing. Don't drag it out. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. Don't let them negotiate you into the ground. Don't give up. Stay focused on what your goals are, and then move forward from there. So, but you've also sold too. You got any wisdom?
My biggest wisdom was when our esteemed keynote speaker was asking this question: raise hands if you're running a business. And I didn't raise my hand, and she didn't raise her hand. And then he said, raise hands if you're working for a business, and both of us didn't raise our hand because we are going through an identity crisis. What are we? We are no longer in charge of a business which we've sold. We have a handcuff on us for 5 years, and we're still very pertinent and very qualified, but where do we fall? That identity crisis is a real part of selling your business. But having said that, I think when you get offers to buy your business, that's validity, at whatever size you sell it. We had an ecosystem of about 135 million when we sold, but even if you sell as a $5 million business, that's validity. Even if you get investment and you don't sell all of it. And validation is really important for a business. So if I look at Harmonia's journey, it was all about validation because we didn't raise it with any VC funding, but we kept winning grants after grants. That means the federal government was investing in us. That gives you a reality check on you're offering something that is needed. I think that is really important for anybody who's in a business, small, large, food, federal contracting, real estate, flowers, anything. If somebody is willing to invest in you, you have a business plan that is viable beyond your existence. So that's an important lesson I learned.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. There are a lot of people in the audience today who want to grow their business. What are some of the strategies that you use to manage your growth effectively so that they can one day sell their business?
I think in the beginning, especially in the beginning, you can't be all things to all people. You have to decide who you want to become the superhero to, who you want to serve. We call it zoning a market. Zone stands for zero in on your target market, own the mind share of that market, nurture and grow your database, and then engage the community in service. And if you can zone a market, you're playing an effective sales and marketing game, which gives you the oxygen to build your business. I mean, oxygen being AKA money, right? To be able to grow your business. So we've always said, decide who you want to be the superhero to, and then serve them better than anybody else.
Yeah, so speaking of, owning your own business, I'm going to speak about restaurants in general. A lot of people, they have really good pizzas, okay? But what makes you different than those people? And now, after COVID, by the way, everybody's competing against you, since DoorDash and Uber Eats. And so when you think about opening a business, you need to think different than others. And location, of course, is very important. The quality of food is very important, but you are the most important, you and your team, basically. So your team is the one who's going to make you very successful or not successful at all. I don't care about your quality, because people now, they come for you. They come for Yasser, they come for Jose, they come, you are the one who's making your business so different. So, that's in my opinion, and that's what we do now. People come just to talk to Patrice, and to order a slice of pizza, and that's how we do it.
So you're talking about branding.
Branding, of course, and you have to adopt. You always keep adopting. This AI thing is driving me crazy. I talk to it and, I say, can you speak Egyptian? To me, it says, yes, I can. They did a marketing plan for us for 12 months. I was so amazed within 15 minutes. So we have to keep adopting and learn, We have to keep learning the new things. Now we have robots. I got robots at all my locations now. And people are like, what, are you crazy? I said, no, it's a customer experience. Kids bring their parents just to see the robot and enjoy a nice meal, Yeah.
Anybody else?
I forgot the question, actually.
So impressed.
Okay, the question was, what strategies do you use to grow your business effectively?
So I agree that the customer experience is very important, just like Yasser said. When we were from 1 to 10 people, right, and it was hard to get customer confidence. The one thing, every time we won effort, and we spoke to the customer about what did we do different that we won against maybe a Booz or maybe even a larger, smaller company. And it was our persistence in making the customer happy. I would be calling our technical monitors, our customers, every week, and sometimes they'd be irritated that I was calling them too much. But the very fact that I was there, ready, flexible, no matter what the scope of work, in federal contracting, you follow the scope of work to the dot. But the reality is when the work is given in a technology area to when it's delivered, so much changes in the technology. And big companies will stick to the dotted word, to the actual alphabet of the contract. And we were like, never mind, you tell me what I have to do. As long as we have the budget, we'll do exactly what you want us to do. I think that flexibility and that always being in front of the customer is so important because that creates a wonderful customer experience. There are people who can do things way better than you and way cheaper than you, but if you hone on to the experience, like you said, you won't lose your customer. Till date, we haven't lost our very first customer, and that probably is a secret sauce for companies that succeed.
What advice do you have for small business owners who are struggling with financial instability or shifts in consumer demands?
Sell something. I think sometimes people don't realize that, especially small businesses, you really are in the sales and marketing business. You have to be a branding expert, a sales expert. You have to look at KPIs and conversions. You need to understand what numbers drive the outcomes that you want. You need to create dashboards, right? You talked about looking at a dashboard. The dashboard gave you some information. You make adjustments based on the dashboard. So as small business owners, we need to build dashboards that work for us, that help us move the needle in our business, whatever that is, right? My business, it's very sales and marketing focused. So we look at KPIs on number of appointments, number of conversations, number of appointments met, number of contracts signed, number of contracts closed, right? Those KPIs, as long as I'm tracking numbers, then I can bring stability to the income in the business.
So for me, it was, people talk about zoning in onto one customer and one technology area. And for me, it was very hard to say no to a business which knocked on my door, right? If the Army was knocking on a technology for user interfaces and my initial expertise was only on legacy code conversion, I never said no. And that may be a bad strategy sometimes and maybe a good strategy. It worked for us because when we went to market to sell, Madison Dearborn, which bought us, after talking to 101 companies, selected us because we were so wide and so diverse that they provided a platform for anybody who wanted to penetrate into government contracting with a bank. The other thing it did was when one agency loses funding, we never worried. Now today, US aid lost funding or education lost funding. Harmonia is so diverse that no matter what happens and which agency gets impacted or which technology area is impacted, we stand on a very broad-based tool. So that worked in our favor, which is contrary to the popular theory, but it certainly worked for us.
Okay, we have 2 questions left, and then we get into our workshops. What key lessons have you learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey that you wish you had known before you started?
I can start. I think, again, I had mentioned this earlier, getting the right talent to work with you. I think we went too long working, I'm sure you've heard, working on the business instead of in the business. We worked for the first 10 years in the business, billable, doing the day-to-day, and we were in a plateau because of that. It wasn't until we really sat back and hired the financial person, which was a big game changer for us, and the operations person that could really lead our workforce, that we were able to move the needle with growth. And so again, I think starting over, I would absolutely surround myself, get a couple of, those 2 individuals I think made the most difference, and work more on the business. We're all very passionate about what we do, and we tend to want to do whatever we're in business to do, but that really is very difficult to grow when you're doing that.
Anybody else?
For me, it was, I wish somebody had told me that this was actually a leadership journey, right? In the beginning, you are the chief bottle washer, cook, cleaner of the business. But very quickly, you have to understand that this is actually a leadership journey and that you're bringing people with you on that journey. and that your business is a platform to transform lives. And so it took me about a decade to understand that. I wish somebody had told me that sooner, because I could have then allowed myself to really step into leadership sooner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, after many years, of course, here's what I learned. You trust yourself, you trust your guts, you trust your system that you created, and of course, it's going to keep evolving, and then make sure you have the best team you can ever get to help you.
Okay, did you want to?
Yeah, this is really important. I'm reiterating what they say. But to surround yourself with people smarter than you. And it was a journey for me, because you feel nervous when you hire a person who's smarter, right? But it's so important. You don't have to be the best technocrat, the best financial guy, the best accountant, the best PD guy. But if you can surround yourself with talent better than you and figure out a way to retain them and get their loyalty, you'll have a successful business. I think that's a single most important lesson in running a business.
Many entrepreneurs experience self-doubt at some point. What advice would you give to aspiring business owners navigating challenges and questioning their path?
So I got a career counselor or a coach. I went to Harvard about 2 years back. So very late in the game, I got a coach, because I suffered with identity crisis, or what's it called, imposter syndrome. And I realized through that Harvard journey, because it takes a journey for all of us to come to a certain age and talk openly about our insecurities. And the fact is, almost everybody in this room, or almost everybody in the work environment, boss or employee, has identity crisis to some extent. If we are too much of a type A, we're trying to hide our insecurity. If we are quiet, even then we're trying to hide our insecurity. But to own that, to accept it, and realize that everybody doubts themselves, and still following your gut, that confidence, even with the fear there and not showing your fear, is important. And my role model is actually from Suits. There's Jessica. I don't know how many people watch Suits. And no matter how much fire is in the house, her exterior is completely steel. And I think we all need that if we're going to be leaders.
I would say, I absolutely agree with the whole identity thing, but I also think that it has to be above you. What are you doing? Our motto was always doing good things for other people. And so whatever that was. And so I made it external to who I was as an individual, and it became something that everybody could sort of grab onto. Our customers could relate to it. That was the journey. And so, I would say it's, posting it out, making a motto of whatever, and grabbing onto that, or values, your core values. What are they? Stick to that, and making that the identity of the organization and not necessarily you.
Rob?
I'd say surrounding yourself with positive voices, right? Other business owners that have traveled the path before and can give you some words of wisdom, and priming your brain with things that are positive in the morning, putting good things in your brain. When you put good things in, good things come out. And those things have served me well. Surround myself with positive people, put good things in my brain.
Yes, sir.
Just don't be afraid, okay? We all do mistakes. We're going to keep doing mistakes. Just fix your problems, but fix it now. It's okay.
That's great advice.
Yeah, it's okay. We're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. We have problems, not problems, I call them situations, issues.
Opportunities.
Yeah. I tell my guys, you have a problem? Yeah, then fix it, but fix it now, then there's nothing. Just don't look for perfect, as you said, sir. There's no perfect. The bigger problems, then we'll deal with it later when it comes. Don't be worried about stuff that never even happened. Just when it comes, just deal with it. That's it. It never comes.
Okay,
With
so
me.
I could not ask all of the questions that some of you may wanted to hear. So, closing remarks. What do you have to share with us that I did not ask that you would like to share with us?
I want to share something very important, actually. When I came here, I came 1998. 1999, we're speaking of Fairfax and how beautiful Fairfax is. I used to work as a dishwasher at the cafeteria here at Fairfax, the government center, in this cafeteria. So when I walked in, I can tell you exactly where everything is. Especially the freezer, because the freezer, I used to be here 5 o'clock in the morning, and imagine the first job that you have to do is to go inside the freezer, winter time, to bring all the frozen meat from inside. So I guess I will never forget that, right?
Rob?
I think words of wisdom is just be a learner, right? Be a learner, constant learner. Like you become anti-fragile when you realize that we all make mistakes and that our job is just to pivot, and learn from those mistakes and build the thing that you see as possible in your brain. That'll keep you going, right? That's my words of wisdom.
I mean, you all are doing the American dream, the dream of a lifetime, which is to start a business. And you know, I would say many of us, I think, have said it. Go with your gut. You know what you can offer, and believe in yourself. I mean, those are the only words I have for that.
So for me, it's humility. My first job when I came into the country, much like yours, I came with a TA, and the amount of the TA was way more than what my mother was making in Indian currency. So I probably came with an attitude, and when I reported it at my advisor's office, he made me dust his office for 6 months. And later on, he became my mentor for life, and he was like, you needed that lesson in humility, because every role is important. Every role holds up a company, holds up an organization, and no role is too small. Respect for every job is the most important. If you carry it into your business, you cannot but have loyalty from your team.
Okay, so these guys are going to be around for a little bit if you'd like to speak with them one-on-one. Is that okay, guys? Sure. And then we're going to transition over to our workshops, and I'll turn it back over to Theo, the committee.
Dr. Murphy, our panelists, thank you so much for making time today. I hope every one of you had a chance to hear the wealth of experience, wealth of knowledge, the folks that are on this stage, and how it could help you and translate to you and your business. But as I wrap up today's plenary session, I want to share my deepest thanks to those who helped with today's forum. I start by recognizing each of our small business commissioners, and if I can have them stand up once their name is called. Our at-large commissioner, Amy Papanou, I think she just took a step back. Sully District Commissioner, Prince Howard. Braddock District Commissioner, Sabrina Mateen. Drainsville District Commissioner and my Vice Chair, Rachel Rosner. Hunter Mill District Commissioner, Sadadi Vaja. Mason District Commissioner, Dr. Khalid Mekki. Franconia District Commissioner, Alpha Woolen. Springfield District Commissioner, Chris Vernon. Providence District Commissioner, Dr. Melvin Murphy. And Mount Vernon District Commissioner, Luis Lopez-Stipes, who I think cannot make it here. These are your faces of the small business community. So please join me in thanking them. Yes, turn around, smile. Thank you, thank you. Thank you all, commissioners. We are here to help you address any business challenges that come your way. The Small Business Commission is your advocate to ensure the small business community remains strong and is empowered the capability of small minority and women-owned businesses here in Fairfax County. If you are interested in attending a Small Business Commission meeting, we meet on the fourth Monday of every month right here at the Government Center at 7 o'clock p.m. Bring us your challenges with any business issues you're facing with the county or in your everyday career. Before we transition to the open air portion of today's event featuring breakout rooms, as Dr. Murphy mentioned, our reverse trade show, the entire commission would like to take a moment to express our deepest thanks to the person who has guided us through the past 7 to 8 months of planning. That person is Mr. Ron Shoreham, Deputy Director of Fairfax County's Department of Procurement, Material Management. His leadership has been instrumental in bringing today's forum to life. So, and I think Ron, wherever Ron is, if he's in the room, he's out there, perfect. He's working the halls. But we thank him for his tireless leadership. One final note, if you have any questions or need directions, there will be county staff that are flanked with blue polos. So if you have any questions or comments, I know my time is running out, I promise. By all means, please assist or direct your comments or questions to those folks with the blue polos here in the Government Center, who will be happy to assist you with any questions you have today. With that being said, thank you all for your attention, and have a great business day. Thank you, everybody.